A lot of people are on the fence about buying The Division 2 because they think it literally just looks like a copy-paste game. So what we're going to do in this video is there's only a couple of things. I did a few hours research, and because The Division 2 hasn't even gone into a private beta yet, like there's been gameplay, but for all players, like when you pre-order the game you get the private beta, that hasn't been a thing yet. We've seen a few live streams from the devs. We've had a few people that got to like get early hands-on gameplay and stuff, like the big YouTubers. So there's not too much to do in terms of a comparison, but I've done the best I can. And one of these things, which is the first thing we're going to talk about, literally took me like an hour to find out. So welcome back to the channel, welcome to another Division 2 video. The first thing we're going to cover is the location of the two games and the size of the maps. So as well as a comparison between the two games, you'll get to find out in this video what is new in number 2 compared to number 1. So the first game, The Division, it was set in Manhattan in the end, but there was lie after lie about the location of the game. The devs were live streaming Brooklyn, and we had to wait years. There was plenty of delays, and even after people have said like Brooklyn's not going to be in the final game or whatever, the devs were still showing gameplay of Brooklyn, then the game ends up being in Manhattan. The location of the game isn't on a 1-to-1 scale with the real world Manhattan, but the total playable area, roughly, is about 5.7 kilometers squared. The Division 2 is set in Washington DC on a 1-to-1 scale, so it's an exact replica of the size of Washington, and the game is set 7 months after the first installment of the series. So that means the devs don't have to do too much work, they just have to update some of the older assets and just keep it up to par with the current graphics and things like that. They don't have to make every asset new because the game is literally just 7 months ahead of the first one. However, I watched a guy, his YouTube channel is Marco Style. Back in June, I think it was 2018, he did a video working out the rough playable area for the game. This one, being a 1-to-1 scale with Washington DC, is 11.44 kilometers squared. Them videos that he does are really interesting, so I'm going to link his channel in the description if you want to go and check them out. There's multiple Division videos, going into depth about the devs lying about it being in Brooklyn and stuff. This is just things that I found from research, this isn't my personal opinion. I personally enjoyed the first Division game, whether there was things said that didn't happen or not. So roughly, The Division 2 has a map size double the playable size of the original game. Next up is the added content. This one I'm a little bit skeptical about because I don't like how they've done it. For the first game you had a season pass. That is now £34 on Steam. I don't know how much it was when it first came out. I can't remember back that far. But a lot of the reviews are saying there just simply isn't enough content. It doesn't really expand on the story or anything like that. The map doesn't get a big increase or anything. It's literally just the same content that they've played before in a new form, like named a couple of new missions or something. People were complaining about it. The Division 2, I've spoken about this in a video recently. I said the DLC for this game is going to be free. But upon doing more research, it just says the first year of expansions are going to be free. So whether or not they decide to charge after that, I don't have a clue. But the first year of expansions will be free. If they go and do a year 2 to the game or whatever, they will more than likely charge for it. That's all the comparisons really. You guys can make your minds up. Like there's gameplay in the background. You can see the difference between the first and the second game. To be honest, it just looks a little bit more polished. A lot of the stuff looks the same. The gameplay, like the main features of the gameplay, don't seem to be too different. I don't know if that's how the devs have even planned to do it. Just basically follow on the story as a sequel and not change much to the game. There is some gameplay changes, but looking at standard gameplay of Division 1 and Division 2, there's not much of a difference, at least for the HUD and the way the game looks. And don't forget, this video is my opinion. You guys are going to have your own opinions. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is this a copy-paste game? Is it not? Are you going to be buying it? Are you not? Personally, I'm getting the biggest edition of the game. I enjoyed the first one. There's some new stuff in number 2, so even if it is a copy-paste, there's still going to be a couple of new things to do. I'm quite looking forward to it. So the comparison part pretty much is over. I can still compare, but this is basically the new content that's coming into the game. The first thing is there's going to be subclasses, Once you complete the campaign in The Division 2, you have a new element added into the game that's called specializations. They're essentially subclasses for your character to level through, and you can unlock new skills once you're done with the campaign. They are tied to one weapon, like there's 3 different classes you can pick for your specializations, but once you've done all the levels on one, you can supposedly pick another. I'm not entirely sure if that's correct, but after doing my research, that's what I found out. Something else that's going to be new to the game is raids. Upgraded from the first game's incursions, these are more full-fledged raids that hold up to 8 players in 2 teams of 4. I don't know at this time if you can go with 7 friends or if it'll be you and 3 friends and then a group of 4 randoms. I don't know how that's going to work, but through the campaign and stuff you can only have 4 players. Next up, there's 2 things after this, but we have the rogue status. I can't remember from the first game, but in this game you now have 3 different levels of rogue status. You have rogue, disavowed, and then manhunt. Once you go rogue, you can then continue doing rogue things. You can rob loot chests, you can steal loot from other players, you can just kill other players and be hostile towards everyone. That will make you rogue. Continuing to do that is going to make you disavowed, and then once you go into manhunt, which is the last stage of it, everyone will be after you, you're going to be the main target. But once you go into manhunt, I think is when you go into manhunt, you open up this place called Thieves' Den, where you can go in there, you can talk to, I think there's a vendor in there you can talk to, you can grab some of the best gear in the game from there, and then you can go back out into the open world, and your rogue status will be cleared. The penultimate thing we're going to talk about is the dark zones. In the Division 2, you're going to have west, east and south, instead of DZ 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This time round, the limit of players in each dark zone has been halved. You can now only have 12 players in there at one time. And apparently they've done that because a lot of people felt the dark zone was empty in the first game. So they've shortened it so that people are going to find each other more often. Something like that. I can't remember exactly what it said. But the main dark zones are going to have normalization, meaning no matter what gear you've got, you're always going to have, well, you're always going to deal the same damage to other players. So you could have, like, the high-end gear, you could have the highest of high-end. Someone could come in with rare gear, they're going to do the same sort of damage and stuff. It's going to be a fair fight between the players because they've normalized it just to give the new players a chance to fill the game out without being ruined every time they step into a dark zone. The occupied dark zones, which are the things for the best players in the game, normalization does not exist. So if you have better gear, you're going to have an advantage in your fights. They've done this because the NPCs, like the AI, are going to be the toughest in the game. You're basically going to need to be a badass to go into the occupied dark zones. Devs have said that the gameplay in the dark zones has been relatively untouched, although they have made it more rewarding. So if you enjoyed the dark zone from the first game, chances are you'll enjoy it in the second. But this time round you're going to be awarded more stuff. You're going to get loot more often, things like that. And the final thing is the organised PvP. This comes in the form of skirmish and domination that has 3 custom built maps at launch. They might expand on that later down the line. But that's pretty much it. Like, that's all I found within a few hours of doing research. I loaded up multiple websites, multiple YouTube videos, and the game's not even had a private beta yet. So there's a lot more to learn about it. This isn't every single thing about the game, but this is what I could find so far. My final verdict is it's pretty much a copy and paste. There's no denying that. But there's some new things in there. It's only 7 months later, like after the first game, so you're not going to expect too much that's going to be new anyway. I'm still going to enjoy the game. Well, I hope I enjoy it. I'm still going to be picking up the game. And I don't know, you guys are going to have to start discussions and stuff in the comments. Let me know what you think. But that's going to be it for me. I will see you in another video very soon. Thank you for watching.